Hello, I'm Joe Bartz, and welcome to my video blog, Living Music. Today being the first installment, we're going to get into a few of the more basic ideas with this blog, like why am I doing this, a little bit of who am I, and today's main topic, what is my philosophy on music and on learning. For the past 25 years, I've lived and worked here in Germany as a freelance tuba player with a couple of temporary positions, as well as a instrumental music educator. More recently, I've done a certification as a hypnotherapist and have discovered great applications of the ideas behind hypnotherapy in basic learning of any skill that one desires to learn. My main teachers in the United States were students of Arnold Jacobs, or students of his students. The really awesome thing is their ideas seem to fit in really wonderfully with my primary teacher when I came to Germany to do postgraduate work. In the first lesson, I'll never forget, he always said to me, "Solve every problem with musicality." And that has stuck with me ever since. So today's blog is basic ideas on what is music. Obviously, we can get into the technical aspects of what is music. Music being organized sound, or an art form in which sound is organized in a particular manner for any number of reasons. That's a good working definition. I'm not sure if it's an exhaustive working definition. Doesn't really matter. For me, the main key about music is a conversation. And in any good conversation, there isn't I postulate an idea, the other guy postulates an idea, and we battle it out to see which idea is correct. That's a competition, that's a fight, that's a war, if you will. A good conversation happens when I and someone else or a group of others look at the world and we discuss what we see in the world. And at the end, we kind of discover how all of these viewpoints can create a larger and more interesting whole and allow us to see the world in a more complex, more colorful manner. So how does that relate to music? Well, the first conversation that occurs within music making is quite simply between the artist and the music itself. One could argue also the artist and the composer. It's difficult because so much of today's music, especially in the classical music world, is performed by dead or music from dead composers. And the intentions of those composers is very difficult to understand, even if those intentions were written down. However, the music itself, that graph that we have, that map that we have, is still there. So we can communicate with that map and we can interact with it and discover things. And maybe in the part of our lives, we discover things new every time we play a piece. And then, of course, the more important part of the conversation, if you will, is that conversation that occurs between the artist and the musician, the musician and the composer, and then the audience. What do I mean by that? Well, instead of a two-way conversation, it becomes a three-way conversation, or, if you will, however many people are in the audience and the two on the stage. And at the end, all of those sum of experiences we can discuss and we can interact with. And then we see how that's such a wonderful thing. The other key aspect of music is that it is art in time. If I have a painting, I won't show it to you today, but I have a print of a painting from Witkaczi, a Polish artist, prior to World War II. I can look at that painting and it's always there. My experience of it may vary from one day to the other, but it itself doesn't change significantly enough that it looks different to me from one day to the next, at least physically speaking. Music, however, is created in time, meaning how I play a piece now, no matter how exact I try to play it the next day, it will not be exactly the same. So once I play a note, it's gone. And it only lives in my memory and in the memories of the audience. Important thing to remember there is that that is a characteristic of it. And we seem, in our time especially, to view a performance of music as some sort of thing. But it's a living process, which means it exists, it builds, it declines, and then it's gone. As it all living processes are. So how does my philosophy on what music is relate to learning? Obviously, a musical instrument requires some sort of technical proficiency. How do I create a sound on this or that? However, as generally accepted among psychologists, continued self-analysis generally leads one to dysfunction. Obviously, sometimes it's necessary. But the key always is, what am I trying to accomplish? Not how am I trying to accomplish it? Because the process of moving parts of my body is so complex that I cannot consciously control all of them. The only thing that I can consciously control is the phenomena of movement and of concept of sound. Arnold Jacobs talked a lot about imitation. Find a great artist and imitate them. And I like that idea to a certain extent. In the end, though, I have to perform my music, which means I learn to imitate, and then I learn to play with the imitations that I've made, maybe imitate several different musicians. Then I play with those imitations, and then I find my own way. My interest in martial arts over the last 10 years or so has taught me a Japanese concept of shuhari. Shu being to learn the rules, ha being to bend the rules, and ri being to break the rules or create one's own rules. And I really like that idea, because in the end, it's only me that's making the music. Technical proficiency on an instrument is such a thing that has become so widespread that it's really no big deal. To be honest, it really never was any big deal. It impressed people that don't know how to play. But to be honest, there's always been great technical players everywhere. The key to being a great musician, or even a musician that connects with their audience, is to find that personal touch. Once again, that conversation that occurs between the composer or the musician and the audience. And one final thing as I come to an end here. Music is this living process, which means that my interpretation of a piece should invariably change from one decade to the next. One of the big pieces that we play for auditions here in Germany is the Vaughan Williams Tuba Concerto. If my interpretation of that piece is the same as it was when I was 25, it means I really haven't learned anything. Obviously, I could say, well, when I was 25, I knew it all. But it's not about knowing it all. It's about, what do I feel about this piece in my life now? Because our answers to life and our response to life changes from one day to the next. Why should it change? Well, quite simple. The things that I feel are important and are correct now are not necessarily the things that I felt were important and correct yesterday or 25 years ago. So someone who has not changed their interpretation of a piece over the last 25 years seems for me to be someone who's not growing. Which gets me to one more final philosophical thing: mindset. Much is talked in our world today about mindset. You have to have a mindset that's built on growth, or a mindset that's built on success, or this or that. And what I've found is that a set mind doesn't change, which means a mind that is set does not learn and is not becoming more artistic, is not becoming more responsive to life. In short, a set mind is not living, because it's only concerned with reaching some sort of ideal. And an ideal maybe be a nice thing to strive for. But an ideal in the end is an illusion. The only thing that exists is the thing that I'm doing in this moment, just talking to you. The only thing that exists when I perform is that note, those notes, those phrases that I'm playing now. And once I've played them, they're gone. And that is actually the thing that makes music so valuable, is that emotional connection in that moment. It's a difficult thing to understand. It's actually quite simple. And unfortunately, because our world is so left-brained, so object and thing-orientated, oftentimes we cannot see it. So I'll leave you with that idea today, and we'll see you soon.